You are listening to Packers Talk Radio Network.
PackersTalk.com.
Eddie Lacy, Mike Daniels, Gilbert Brown, Don Barclay, Micah Hyde, your Green Bay Packers, yesterday's legends and today's superstars. From corporate or nonprofit events to private parties, add some spice, hire a Packers player from Mayfield Sports Marketing. For details, just go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances.
Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Card.
If a Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.
This is Titletown Sound.
Prepare yourself for overwhelming intelligence.
He's going to look like Gronk riding a unicorn carrying a lightsaber.
I know how toast works.
Clay Matthews, Squirrel Whisperer.
Your squirrel naming game is not strong.
The turd cheeseburger could come back.
If one of us wants to pee on it, sure.
I'm not bailing you out on that.
I was acting unprofessionally.
I'm just here to ruin things.
Welcome to Titletown Sound, episode 71, the Josh Sitton episode. You have to be very careful when you say his name. I am your host for the day, Jeremy VanderLinden. That is me. David Bobke is not with us today. He is detained. But with me, I have Kristofco and James Korsmo. How you doing, guys?
I'm so excited I'm lactating.
You're lactating. Great. That's good. James, how you doing?
I'm currently vomiting.
Currently vomiting. All right, on today's show, now that we have those two things out of the way, we're going to be talking about a developmental league in the NFL, possibly having one, or an academy, or whatever kind of cockamamie thing they're going to come up with. We're going to take your Twitter questions, and we're going to talk about everyone's favorite Packer of all time, Jeff Janis. It's going to be a good show. Looking forward to that Jeff Janis chat. So
here's the thing, Jeremy. This might be your first time hosting, but that was a professional Jeff Janis tease. Everybody's going to be listening till the end now.
You're right. Yeah, I've been writing that. Like, I've been working on that for 3 days now, just to make sure people will stick out. So
I don't know about anybody else out there, but I am completely titillated right now.
You are titillated. There's lactation. There's vomiting. It is a full show. This is fantastic. My gosh. All right. Well, let's get into the things people actually want to hear when they turn on a podcast. Let's talk about the NFL and this possible developmental league. Jason Lockenfora, I think it was last week, maybe late last week, early this week, posted an article about how the NFL is currently talking about either starting a developmental league or doing an academy where players can go during the season that didn't make a roster and be actually on the field instead of driving UPS trucks. There are two options. The developmental league is something they're talking about possibly running in the spring, so it would run opposite of the football season, which is great for me. I think that's fantastic. And the other option is to run an in-season academy. So all those guys would go down to the academy. They're saying Florida right now, and they would basically just work on their football skills and try to get onto a roster. Chris, I'm going to throw it to you. I want to hear your thoughts.
I think, okay, so here's the thing. The NFL's got to see this as a long-term investment. I don't know that they see much as a long-term investment, so I don't know how likely it is to happen. But I'd much rather see a developmental league where there's actual competitive football being played. The thing is, if the NFL has some sort of academy, they definitely can't make money off of it. Maybe a reality show. But other than that, there's no way to market that. With the developmental league, at least they could, they may be able to fill some seats. They're not going to necessarily make a profit or a fortune off of it, but it's good for exposure, getting introducing the league to different areas in the country that don't have teams. But in my mind, if you're going to do like a spring developmental league, something like that, you need to have team affiliations. You've got this built-in, you've got this huge pool of fans already. And these fans generally have their teams that they already root for. So I would love to see like a kind of a true minor league, and maybe teams have to NFL teams have to split a developmental team for, when it comes to, affiliation, because I don't think they're going to have a full roster. But I think that would be exciting to see, because it would give people a rooting interest.
Yeah, just to add to that point, combining teams, you could do, like an NFC team combines with an AFC team, so you don't get a lot of, you wouldn't really want to put the Packers developmental guys with the Vikings developmental guys on one team. So maybe pairing the Packers with an AFC team, that could potentially work. James, your thoughts?
Well, I agree, and with some points that Chris made, there are some things that, for me, I feel like the shelf life of an NFL player is already short enough as it is, given the nature of the game. And if we have a competitive league, before you get to the competitive league, I'm afraid that a lot of those guys will come into the league already worn down to a point where they're not going to be able to give everything they normally could have. Although a point could be made that they wouldn't be there if they hadn't gone to the developmental league to begin with. So I like the idea of making it and doing like a Hard Knocks. I'm tired of watching Hard Knocks every year. Here's a bunch of guys you've never heard of and you're never going to hear from again, getting cut by a coach who won't be here next year because your team sucks, and that's why you're on Hard Knocks. So maybe it might be more compelling for everybody involved and more useful if we did something like that. However, the NFL in the long run is going to do what makes the NFL money.
But that is a way, that's, I think, a pretty smart way for the NFL to make money. Because now you have advertising going into that show. It's a show they could actually run all season long, because, every NFL fan, at least every, I guess, crazy NFL fan, would want to watch that. Even if it was on HBO, I would get HBO for the entire season to watch that show and pay attention to it. So if you're saying, let's do an academy, and I think you might be talking about having teams, but I'm talking about if you did an academy and it was like, players doing their developmental stuff and watching the coaching and what they're doing down there, but also like the drama of seeing a guy possibly get called up or he's been released and just got to the academy, those kinds of things like Hard Knocks. I think that would be a draw. I would watch that. Sure. As far as teams go, you could run a Hard Knocks with a team every year and do their full like spring season, however long it is, and run episodes for whatever the 2 months that the season would be.
Right.
So for the academy, you cannot build a developmental league with if you're looking for a profit where your motivation or your profit model is a reality TV show.
Let's say this. Okay. Here's the thing. I agree. It can't just be about the drama of a reality television show. I think what would actually add the appeal is having the league, having that spring league. Having the academy would probably be a little more boring, but doing a spring league and having like a Hard Knock style show for that season, I think that's compelling.
Well, and then here's the question though. I think along with this, you'd have to also expand practice squads, and I think they should expand them. They should be huge, much larger than they are. And let's get more people. Let's get more guys kind of in the league, on the edge, on the fringes of the league. Younger guys that maybe didn't get a chance, weren't drafted, didn't get signed as undrafted free agents. These guys, I'm sure a lot of teams would love to have the chance to use them instead of the banged up veteran who's going to be mediocre, but who's there and is around. And I would rather see them expand practice squads as part of a developmental league. They've just got to commit to it and realize that it's not going to, the first year they put it on the NFL Network, and that's probably where they would air games, it's not going to be a profit maker. And it may never, not for a long time. It may break even if they're lucky, but they have to look at it as developing the talent and keeping people interested in their chance at the NFL, because it's going to become a lot tougher, especially with the head injury issues. All of these things are going to make it a lot tougher to cultivate talent. They've got to look at every way that they can to do that.
One shining example of cultivating talent would be Kurt Warner and NFL Europe. He was in NFL Europe. He also played in the Arena League, which I had seen people on Twitter saying, well, the Arena League in college football is that developmental league. That's not it. College football obviously doesn't do a good enough job. There are plenty of players that come out of college football every year that don't make the league. They never see a practice field. They never even get a chance. However, if you run a spring league, that makes more room for more bodies to keep competing to get into the NFL. And like you said, with the head injury issues, Less parents are letting their kids play football. Those numbers are starting to drop down a bit. And if that continues on, if that trend continues in the upcoming years, it might be difficult to develop talent because you're going to have college players playing football that didn't play much as a kid. So they're going to be immature as far as play goes. And you're going to have a way to develop those guys. You're going to have a way to bring them along. You got to find a way to bring them up to speed. Now, as far as broadcasting the games, I had mentioned this on Twitter. But I think what they need to do, the NFL needs to take the example of the WWE. Now, James and I could speak to this at length. Chris could not. But the WWE Network is a fantastic idea that they came up with. It has every wrestling pay-per-view that the WWE has ever put out, the WCW. It's got all of this old content, all of these old archives. You can go back and watch all this old content. It's $9.99 a month. It's $10 a month. It's super cheap for what you're getting. And if the NFL would take old games that are archived that I can't just go find, old Packer games from the middle of the 90s and just pop them in and play them. But if I wanted to go back and watch the Packers 96 season, 95, 96 season, and I could go on like an NFL online network and find that whole season and watch game after game, that would be worth my money. And then if you wanted to broadcast your spring league, developmental league games on that network, you could build in advertising into those games and have a built-in group of people who have already paid for the subscription. Now they're also seeing ads during games. To me, I think that would be a good way to go.
Absolutely, and the WWE actually does this already with the network. They have their developmental league, if you want to call it that, NXT. And they have several programs revolving around that. It's not just the actual events themselves. It's behind the scenes stuff and other things that I think they do a really, really good job with. And it's kind of odd that we're advocating the NFL to kind of, ape the WWE, but that is a great idea. I think it would really behoove them to do something like that.
I'm a big wrestling fan. I watched the WWE Network a lot. There's a lot of content on there that I think if you put that in an NFL setting would be fantastic. Some reality TV content. I think, and I know they already have the NFL Network for all of that stuff. That's all grand. That's good. But I want the archive. I want to be able to go back and find games that I've never seen. So I think that could be a direction to go. Now, as far as the academy, I want both. I think you can't do one without the other, because I think those guys that play in the spring league that don't make a roster should then go to the academy, and the next year they go back into the spring league and try again. So I know that that's more money out, but the development that would come from that will be totally worth it. The product needs a pick-me-up. It's not been good lately. It's been sloppy. They could also use the league to develop referees, use people for coaching positions and front office positions in that league to teach people and bring people along to help the league grow. Any other thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Well, I mean, I think, sorry, I lost audio for a few seconds there, so I hope you guys, I don't know if you guys talked about this at all, but the NFL does have, don't they have like archived games? Not all of them, but I think from like 2009, they have archived games on an online, on Game Pass. Don't they have something like that?
They do. Yep, and they take them off as they go though. So like it's 2009 this year, and I think it'll be 2010 next year will be the most, like the oldest games on there. So there
must be a reason they do that.
Because the NFL, I don't know, they like to protect their content.
Sure.
But if you said, okay, here's an NFL subscription based thing and it's $10 a month, how many people are signing up for this if it's got all these old games on it? I'd do it in a heartbeat.
I think, look, the NFL is so popular too because it has a billion casual fans that on Sundays will watch the games and on Monday nights will watch the games. But I don't know. I'm not sure that it would be as huge as you think, but I do think the NFL is moving toward controlling all of its own content. And you watch, that's where games are moving. That's where, you're going to see on demand through the NFL and online in the very, very near future, which I'm happy paying for every game every week when I only want one game each week. It just happens to be an out-of-market Packers game.
Well, I disagree with you. I think there are so many blogs that, like, you look at our website, look at Cheesehead TV. There are numerous just Packer blogs, and how many people fill those websites and read those articles and comment. And I know that it's probably a core of people using each one of those websites, but I think that there is a large core of fans that are rabid enough that they would want to take in as much content as they could find, especially in the off season.
Well, here's my point, though. I don't think a developmental minor league is going to draw more people to that subscription.
No, but that subscription would build in numbers that they could then sell to advertisers, or to sponsors. So, let's say Tide, for example, hey, Tide, we have this online subscription. This is how many subscribers we have. We're going to broadcast these games, and we would like, for you guys to buy an ad spot. And then Tide's like, well, no, it's a no-brainer. There's already all these people using that. So it kind of bolsters the numbers up a little bit so that they can sell advertising for those games. All right, moving on. We're going to take a quick break, actually, and we will come back. And when we do so, we're going to answer your Twitter questions.
Hey guys, it's Bobbo. I'm not totally absent this week, but I'm trapped in the basement here at the Titletown Sound studios. Look, I have just a minute to tell you something really important. It's not how to get me out of this basement, though that seems like that'd be pretty important too, but it's actually about our sponsor. It's a fellow podcast called What's the Score? The Sports News Quiz. Host Baxter Colburn and Game Master Josh Scheibe bring you a weekly trivia show revolving around the current sports news with personalities from around the area. What personalities, you may ask? Well, AM 620 WTMJ's Doug Russell for one, the Big 920 WOKY's Dan Pfeiffer for another, and also the former president and general manager of the Chicago Fire, Peter Wilt, has been on the show. This week, What's the Score will be returning to the air with a live show, Sunday, June 12th at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. You can listen in at Spreaker.com and SportsRadioAmerica.com. And if you missed any information or you want to get more info on the show, go check out their website, www.wtsportsquiz.com. Again, it's www.wtsportsquiz.com. Not only can you find information about the show, but you can find old episodes to catch up on, and you can even learn how to become a contestant on the show and possibly win yourself some free swag. That's always a good thing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to try to figure out who put super glue on this doggone door.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Titletown Sound. This is episode 71. This is the Josh Sitton edition. I nearly messed that up. You just really have to be careful of saying that dude's name. Okay, so we got a couple Twitter questions. We got a couple really good ones. A couple really horrible ones. We're not going to read those. No, I'm just kidding. Where to start? Sorry, I lost my list, but I will figure it out. At Cheesehead TV, at Cheeseheads Brazil, at Cheeseheads BR. Excuse me. Cheesehead TV is not tweeting us a question, at least not today. Okay, so the question is, the fact that 1/3 of the Packers starters are in a contract year, can that help the Packers get back to the Super Bowl? I'll throw it to you first, James. Can the Packers, having all these guys in a contract year, can that help them on their road to Super Bowl?
It certainly can't hurt. I've never been one to buy too deeply into the whole, hey, it's his contract year. He's really going to put forth an extra effort now. Some people, sure. We've seen it across the league, and Ndamukong Suh in Detroit, his contract year, he played lights out, and then he went down to Miami, and that's last thing I heard, he's selling fish or something. I don't know what he's doing. Honestly, these guys are professional athletes, and I really believe that 95% of them are out there playing to their greatest abilities, regardless of if there's a $10 million payday or not. However, I think the bigger story is Eddie Lacy. Yes, it's his contract year, but it's also his redemption year in terms of being called out by his coach and everybody else under the sun on social media, including us.
I don't know what you're talking about. I would personally never make an Eddie Lacy's fat joke. I think that's uncalled for.
I've never seen you make an Eddie Lacy fat joke. I've
No.
only seen you say the most kindest things about him. To answer the question, which I've kind of gotten away from, is I don't think it's going to make a huge difference at all, to be honest, especially with the offensive linemen, because those guys play their cans off every week regardless. So, except for certain backup ones who I wouldn't mind seeing go away forever.
You know what? I think it can help. I think where you're going, I'm going to directly disagree with James because I can't stand him, and I'm going to say that it's the offensive line where you will see the biggest difference. This is a big year for a bunch of them, including just for the offensive linemen in general. I don't think they've been completely in sync where they were last year. Bakhtiari's got, there's hot breath on his neck at this point, and I'm not completely sold on him as the left tackle of the future. I don't know that the organization is. I think that he's going to have a motivated season, and I hope he does. And I think that offensive line is going to play really well because, almost all of them are on a contract year, it seems like. So I think you're right. Most of them are playing their hardest regardless. But for guys who want to stay in town, it's a huge year. And I think you're going to see, not that you're going to see increased effort, but it is amazing what guys can do on a contract year. So I think, like you said, it can't hurt, and I think that where you'll see the difference will be in some really critical areas like the line.
Yeah, just to get an idea here, it's Lacy, Lang, Sitton, Bakhtiari, Perry, Jones, Peppers, and Cobb. So I don't know, Perry and Jones.
Like let's take Peppers off that list because it may technically be a contract year, but he's 100 years old.
I think, no, because on the other side of that, it's also his last chance to get to that Super Bowl, last chance to get your ring. So maybe
that's a completely different cliche.
Similar, I think it's a similar motivation. Like the time clock is ticking, I got to do something, and the other guys are thinking the time clock it's ticking. I got to prove myself so I can make more money next year. I think, it can have an impact. Is it going to have an impact on all of these guys? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know that Perry and Jones, I don't know that they're really going to do much more than what we've seen. And I do like where Dayton Jones has been heading. I like Nick Perry and what he did at the end of the season. But he's dealt with so many injuries, and is that going to pop up again? And we'll see if it really has an impact with those guys. However, David Bakhtiari, I think, is the best point that either of you made. That he's he's got to prove it.
So what you're saying is I made a better point than James.
That is what I'm saying. Yes. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're keeping score on that. And I have another question. What do you think is the biggest possible influencer on whether the Packers make the Super Bowl? The contract year situation? Or Aaron Rodgers no longer consuming cheese?
First of all, I feel like you can't live in Green Bay and not consume cheese.
It's a solid point.
Well, I feel like when you're in Green Bay, everything is infused with cheese. No matter what you're eating, there's a little cheese in it.
It's true. It's in the water tower. The water tower filters the water through Swiss cheese.
That's right.
That's science.
It is science. Look, as somebody who has given up cheese himself and dairy for the last 2 years, it's in Wisconsin. Not a day goes by where I don't want to hang myself off of a rafter with a lump of Gruyere underneath my arm. However, you have to remember, Aaron Rodgers is a California boy, and he's been here for 10 years, but that's 6 months out of the year. So.
Right. Now, this is really cool. Since we've got you here, and you can really talk about this. In the last 2 years, how much has your quarterbacking game improved?
I can throw a ball over those mountains over there. That is how much my quarterbacking game has improved.
I think we have our answer. That Packers are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're going to the Super Bowl. Exactly.
And they're going to do it on the strength of me giving up dairy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move on here to the next question. We have actually a political question. Prepare yourselves. From Snart Gable, his Twitter handle is
Dennis the Cynic.
Dennis is the Cynic. Okay, Dennis is the Cynic. Hello, my friend. Okay, which current Packer would be a politician later, and why? Chris, go.
So there's there's okay. I'm going to cheat a little bit, but
Well, it is
he's not currently on the roster. But can you think of a Packer in recent history who has been able to do so little, really produce such little results, yet still have thousands of partisans screaming his name constantly, rooting for him, cheering for him, despite no accomplishment? Obviously, Kuhn for president 2020.
Kuhn for... I thought you were going to go Janis, but... Oh, Kuhn. All right. James?
I'm going a little more serious on this. Here's the thing. To be a politician, you have to be able to suck and own your suck, and then come back and redeem yourself, at least for a little while, in order to keep your job. And who else in the last 5 years has owned their suck and made everybody hate them more, and then turn around and love them more than my favorite salt and pepper haired place kicker, Mason Crosby?
He does have nice hair. All right. I'm going to pick Mike Daniels. I feel like just put this in the current scenario of who we're looking at, who we're possibly voting for here as future president of our nation. Imagine Mike Daniels, which if you watch Mike Daniels closely, he is always talking on the field. He talks so much trash, and he backs it up. Can you imagine him in a debate with Donald Trump? It would be amazing. Also, how quickly would Mike Daniels punch him in the face? It would be primetime television worthy. It would be fantastic. Mike Daniels for president forever.
So at Weston Stoddard actually messaged us. He did not tweet us in the live Twittersphere, but instead messaged the Titletown Sound Off account and said, Aaron Rodgers could run for any office in the state of Wisconsin and win. True or false? What do you think?
I gotta say true. I think he could. Yeah, James.
I absolutely. I think he could run for anything he could run for PTA president in a school district where his kid doesn't go, and he would win.
I'm going to throw in a curveball here. We did not discuss this question. From Maniti Ryan, should we start Ripkowski over Lacey at running back? #Ripper. I know he's joking. However, I'm going to say yes. Absolutely, that should happen. Ripkowski forever. He should start at quarterback.
It's an absurd question. I don't know why you would ever ask it, because the answer is obviously yes.
Yes, exactly.
There's no question. That's a gimme. That's like saying oxygen is good.
Someday, like one of his friends is accidentally going to listen to the podcast, like not on purpose, obviously. Is accidentally going to listen to the podcast, and we're going to get a restraining order served upon us. I mean, that's okay. That'll be cool. We'll frame it, but it's going to happen because this is creepy. But
we'll frame it. We'll try to get it autographed. We'll try to frame it with a lock of his hair. Let's just get real weird. Like someday, Ripkowski is going to go missing. He's going to be in the basement of the Titletown Sound offices.
Don't we have a guy who owes us a whittled squirrel? Can't we have him change that to it? Can we have him change that to a Ripper voodoo doll?
Yeah, that's Sam in where's he from? Ireland or something?
Scotland.
Like
he probably mailed it a couple months ago. It just takes a while. That's what I'm guessing.
He's going to be pissed if he listens to this show and hears me say Ireland. Anyway,
so I just want to clarify for those listening at home, having a restraining order autographed by the person who issued it against you, probably illegal. Probably shouldn't try that.
Not if we have someone else do it. You know, like I could send my wife. She could go get it. Okay. You know, and you would want to have a woman get it done because obviously they're much more attractive than any of the three of us. So
that's we would any living organism. You don't have to go women with that.
No,
that's a good point. I'd attach it to a dog, and he would probably say it.
I'm looking at a ficus who looks better than me right now.
But the problem there is that a ficus can't walk or talk, so you can't have a ficus ask for an autograph. That's not gonna work.
That's true.
Okay, moving on to the next question and our last topic for the show. Cheeseheads BR brings us another question, and he asks. Excuse me, now I have to find this Twitter question. Janis or Adams for wide receiver number 3? Just let me kind of set the table here. Last week, Pete Doherty of the Green Bay Press Gazette / Milwaukee Journal Sentinel wrote an article about how the Packers need to give Janis a chance to win that spot as the number 3 receiver. Basically saying that if the Packers let Janis make his mistakes and keep going to him, that he is physically gifted enough that he could possibly beat out Adams as the number 3 wide receiver on the team. Chris, I'm going to start with you. I know you have some strong feelings. What are your thoughts?
I feel like we're now writing Jeff Janis clickbait. Like, no lie, that this this phenomenon has gone beyond Jeff Janis is the next the return of Christ, to some people believing that Jeff Janis is the return of a non-fumbling Jerry Rice. It's Jeff Janis is a great special teams player and a really fast dude, but he hasn't shown that he has the ability to run the routes as Rodgers needs him to. And what Doherty recommends in this article is taking reps away from other receivers to give them to Jeff Janis to work out the kinks with his route running. I just don't think you can do that. That's work he has to do. If he hasn't been able to do it on his own, if the study hasn't worked, if his own private, personal practice hasn't worked, why are we going to use valuable time in OTAs and training camp when the time is so limited? The new CBA limits the practice time so much that, literally there are high school teams in 2 weeks that get more practice hours than the Packers will up until, the first preseason game. So I don't know why we would expend that much energy on this project that is Jeff Janis, who is likely going to make the team because of his special teams prowess and his ability to run really fast in a relatively straight line. But to say that we should devote more resources to him, look, I could make the same argument that we should devote more resources to Davante Adams, who proved himself and then had a down year, as we should to a really fast dude. That's how I feel about it.
But Chris, he caught another Hail Mary at practice at OTAs.
He did. And he's got a sweet mustache. So
he does. He really has a beard, but when he wears his helmet, all you see is the mustache. So I guess, he looks a little like Wyatt Earp. James, your thoughts?
Indulge me, if you will, for a moment. Let me paint you a picture.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So imagine you are going in for some sort of surgery. I don't know. Well, your appendix needs to come out. And you get to the hospital, and the best surgeon in the state says, you know what? We have a guy here who he's an intern, and he's okay. He can't really cut well, and a lot of his soldering or suturing or whatever the hell they do, it doesn't really take, and you might get infected. But here's what we're gonna do: he needs some reps, so I'm gonna go ahead and take 5, and I'm gonna go in the lounge and have a $10 burger, and I'm gonna let him take out your appendix, and then you wake up 3 hours later and your spleen is gone. That is what Doherty is suggesting that we do with the Packers. And I'm not saying that Adams is a surgeon, because God only knows, but it's stupid. It's incredibly dumb, because people forget Adams, and I know it's an excuse, but he was playing hurt for the majority of the year, and Jordy was gone. I really think that had a huge effect on everything. He wasn't ready for what he wasn't ready for what he had to do. He wasn't ready to go out there and be the number 2 receiver.
Let's not forget that Janis will get opportunity. It's not like, it's not like it's all or nothing.
Sure, because Abby's not making the team. At least I don't think he is.
You shut your dirty mouth. You shut your mouth.
Come here and make me.
No, you're in Wisconsin. I'm in Arizona, and that's really far.
I'll come to you.
Oh, all right. Sounds good.
It's nicer out there anyway. But yeah, so honestly, that article actually made me mad. I read it and I put it down, and I was mad, and my family didn't understand why I was mad, and I talked to my ficus, and it's all better.
I actually think that Abby might make the team over Janis, and then Packers Twitter will collectively explode.
No, look, here's my thinking. John Kuhn is gone. And I know there's the back and forth of, is John Kuhn going to come back? I don't know, maybe, who cares? The point is John Kuhn is gone. Now they're not going to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. There is room on this roster for 7 receivers. You don't have to like it, but the Packers do what they want. Especially if they like a guy, they're going to stash him. They're not going to let one of these 2 guys go if they like them for their future. So I don't know. I want to be a little hands off on the Jeff Janis versus Aberdarius argument.
I might as well just write my bold prediction now.
I just got to see some preseason games and read some of those fantastically wonderful camp tweets. So let's just hold off on that. I feel like there's room on the roster for both of them, but let's see what happens in preseason. But to get back to the Jeff Janis point, first of all, Chris, you are absolutely correct. This is Jeff Janis clickbait. It is ridiculous. The Journal Sentinel and GreenBayPackersNews.com or the Green Bay Press Gazette, they know that Jeff Janis has this cult following that's insane and makes no sense. So sure, let's write this crazy article. Not only did they write this crazy article, they named it 2 different things. And so when it went up on Bleacher Report, because it was on both the Journal Sentinel and the Press Gazette website, when it went up on Bleacher Report, it had 2 different headlines. So they double dipped on their clickbait. Because one headline is, Janis deserves chance to prove he can be the number 3 receiver. And the other one is, Packers should stick with Janis over Adams. Same article. But they double dipped on the clickbait. They were just looking for clicks.
Here's what I don't get, really. Despite what, like 3 flashy plays, what else did Jeff Janis do to show you that he was even better than a mediocre Davante Adams?
So I'm going to say this, though. I do agree that they need to give him a chance. Well, let me say that better, because you said they're going to give him a chance, and that's true.
Right.
But I think that they need to let him work the kinks out, but limited. Not let's replace Adams in practice completely to give Janis his chance. Now, this offseason program actually is going against Janis because the Packers are making some changes. An article came out last week. The Packers have made some changes to their playbook, including the verbiage that they use. So everything that he's learned with the Packers and everything he has struggled to learn, so we've seen Jeff Janis and watched him struggle to learn how to play in a professional style offense. Now they're throwing a curveball at him in his 3rd year, and he's got to try to learn this new stuff too. So he might struggle at the beginning of camp. I think, though, that he does make a solid point that they should, when he messes up, Rodgers needs to stop screaming at him and he needs to shut the hell up, get back in the huddle, and give him another shot.
But that's like saying I should stop eating carbs. It just ain't gonna happen. So you got to deal with you got to deal with the framework that you got. That's what Rodgers does. And you know what? He ain't changing his stripes at this point. So or spots, whatever the hell that phrase is. So you got to deal with, like, we're not in a fantasy world. We are in the construct we're in, and Rodgers is going to yell at him and is going to be pissed off. It is not going to have patience. That's fine. You just got to deal with that.
There is no wide receiver on that team that is immune from that. That's just how Aaron is.
I know you're right. Jordy is semi-immune.
He's
semi-immune. You get paid a lot of money to play. Put your big boy pants on. Yes, I agree with all that. No, Jordy's not immune. If he pissed Rodgers off, Rodgers sure would be giving it to him because he does that to anybody and everybody. But Jeff Janis, I think, he does have a physical gift that Davante Adams is nowhere near. He's taller, he's faster, he's stronger. Those things, you can't coach Davante Adams to have the features that Jeff Janis has. However, the one thing Jeff Janis seems to be missing in comparison is his brain. He just doesn't pick it up as fast as other guys are. Not that Davante Adams has picked it up necessarily well, but that's where he's lacking. He's lacking the mental capacity to pick up the game the way that it needs to be picked up, to be able to play successfully on a Sunday, and to be able to be trusted in big moments. So there you have it. Jeff Janis for president. Or John Kuhn, or whoever. So, gentlemen, any last thoughts?
Janis for president still has me speechless.
Nobody wants Janis for president? All right. Okay.
I'm just envisioning the bumper stickers now. Get America moving in the right direction, fast and in a straight line. I don't know. That's just we'll have to work on that. But
Teach America the route tree again. So this has been Titletown Sound, episode 71, the Josh Sitton edition. Thank you for listening. Share it with your friends, or I will quit Twitter. Thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out our website.
Share it with your enemies.
Sure, whatever. Share it with anybody. If nobody listens to this podcast, I'm going to throw a fit. And I'm going
to quit MySpace.
Whenever he throws a fit, I end up hurt somehow, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, don't hurt James, and don't make me quit Twitter. I'm almost to 1,000 followers. I'm probably gonna hit that this year, so I'm pretty excited about that. Anyways, thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for clicking on the website. I know James had an article go up recently about the fantastic merchandise that the Packers sell at the Pro Shop. We also have an article about current roster positions and who could be out come when the season starts. So go ahead to TitletownSoundoff.com, click on those, read them, comment, let us know what you think, and we'll bring you another podcast pretty soon. So thank you for listening.
Janis for president.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name.
Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Card.
If a Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.
Eddie Lacy, Mike Daniels, Gilbert Brown, Don Barclay, Micah Hyde, your Green Bay Packers, yesterday's legends and today's superstars. From corporate or nonprofit events to private parties, add some spice, hire a Packers player from Mayfield Sports Marketing. For details, just go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances.